Good evening. It's Monday, May 19th, 6:44. We're in the City Council chambers, and this is the Safety and Public Works Committee. We have 7 items on the agenda. I added the 8th. And we'll start out with the item number 1, petition to vacate alley. And for the audience, there is really nobody here tonight. So, for the ones that are on TV to know what's out here. So go ahead, Jeff, with petition to vacate alley.
Yes, we received a petition to vacate a portion of an alley, east-west alley in Block 40 of Cuyuna Range Edition. That's located out on Oak Street, on the north side of Oak Street, just west of the old Brainerd Manor. Probably about in the vicinity of, and this would actually be, I think, still east of Walnut Street. Typically, when we receive such a petition, there's a fee associated with petitioning to vacate, so the petitioner did pay a $50 fee. It does require a 2 weeks published notice in the paper, so typically what we do is have the council set a public hearing for what, because of the spacing and meetings, we can't set it for the next meeting, so it would have to be 2 meetings from now. So staff would recommend then that the council schedule that public hearing for 7:30 p.m. Monday, June 16th.
And real quick on that, Jeff, and I did call on this today, I don't see any paperwork in here why we're going forward with this, other than, they just want to vacate the alley, and you had mentioned they have reasons for this?
Right, they indicated that they're either trying to replace or construct an accessory structure. The alley is a dead-end alley. They own the property on both the south and north side of the alley, as well as other properties surrounding that, the alley parcel. The concern is essentially setbacks from the platted alley. So apparently that, where they want to locate the garage, they cannot locate it because of the setbacks from the alley. So since it's a non-existing traveled way, it's not an improved alley, they're petitioning for the vacation.
And we have to do the public hearing?
Yes.
Okay, because I had some questions on why we're moving forward before the council has a chance to, move forward.
Jeff, you said that it's platted, but hasn't ever been done.
Right,
And so they own the property on both sides of it.
on both sides, yes.
So when it's vacated, that property becomes their property.
Right.
Is there any procedure whereby the county may take a look at it for assessment purposes to determine the value? Because they'll then have more property, which presumably will bring in more tax.
Well, I would suspect, that would be attached to their legal description. Their legal description would change if it's approved. It would be lots, whatever it may be. And if I remember correctly, I think right now the description does include all of the lots, and even though they're not contiguous, that there's a platted alley between them. So the legal description would be amended to say, and adjacent vacated alley. So once that happens, I don't know if the county assessor reevaluates a property or not. They may.
Okay.
This value has like $2, $3 a square foot value from a city lot. I'm just gonna throw that out there, and you give that to this person. But my hiccup is, we haven't really looked at the future of the city where Mark would come in, we need every ounce of easements that we can, or, alleys for future growth. This is an undeveloped area, so we have no idea, for alleys or for utilities, the cost. Once they take this, then we have to move everything onto Oak Street, which costs there's no place to put it but then on Oak Street. And I look at this and I'm so against it because, you can't take this back from the person once you give it. And second of all, is everybody's got a problem with setbacks, so the first thing you do is when you have a problem with setback, come to the city and say, hey, I tell you what, vacate the alley and I don't have a problem now with my setbacks. It's kind of like the tiny homes, I got a small lot, let's build a small home,
I love it.
So it's like we're really accommodating whatever the problem is for the person.
Well, the other thing, and building on what Gary said, because I also had some of those concerns, is the property on the other side of the alley, which you say they also own, is that something they could sell in the future? Is it buildable?
There's a lot of wetlands over there. I'm not sure to what extent that might be buildable. There's a platted street, which I think is either 22nd or 23rd Street, along the west side of the house, but that also is unimproved. And they also own property west of that, so they own quite a chunk of property that does have a platted street and platted alleys in it, but it doesn't go anywhere.
I suppose those could be asked at the public hearing.
Yes.
You don't know for sure if it's developable or not, right? I mean,
I
obviously,
think it's highly unlikely.
if it dead ends,
first-
because it's a swamp, then
Yep. First off, we don't have sanitary sewer available in that particular area. So those homes would have to be on, or on septic anyway. They do have city water. There certainly would be wetland impacts. If the back lot were to be developed, they would have to improve a public roadway to serve it. So I think from, between the utilities and the costs associated with putting in a public road, I would say that it's probably not developable. It wouldn't be cost effective to try.
But if you want to bring utilities in, I mean, this is your avenue to bring your utilities in, and they bore most of the utilities, they don't dig. So your power, telephone, poles, all of that has got a place to go.
Right.
Once you give that up, then you sit there and scramble trying to find where you can put your utilities in, and that's why this, it's built in a grid system for you guys. And that bothers me later saying, well, now we got this hiccup. So, we can move on to the next one. 'cause-
Well, I think we need to have the public hearing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I think those are all fair, very fair things to talk about, Gary, I do. But I would move that we hold a public hearing on the petition to vacate the alley. And it would be the June meeting, right?
June.
Yes, June 16th.
No,
pardon?
that's the day we're having History Week. Well, I guess we gotta have it.
Yes.
All right.
I think we're having a council meeting that evening, aren't we?
I guess
Yeah.
so.
That's part of our history week. We can start it right off here.
That's true.
Item number 2, dial right. Yeah, we ain't got much time tonight. Dial right bus disposal.
Well, this one will be easy.
Okay, we have received approval from MnDOT to go ahead and dispose of bus number 113. That is a bus where the frame actually broke on it. So it's been taken out of service, and MnDOT's given us approval to go ahead and do that. So with that, staff would request that the council authorize the disposal of this vehicle. And quite frankly, we're not actually disposing of it. We're going to cannibalize it. We're going to strip it of working parts. In fact, we're already taking the engine out of it because one of our other buses blew an engine on Friday. So we're yanking the engine out of this one to put in the other one.
I move approval of the request to dispose of bus number 113.
oh, it's a Ford.
113, you said?
That's the
Yeah,
number
yep,
of the
yep,
bus,
one-
yeah.
113, got it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item number 3, bus purchase.
Okay, this is, again, this year, with in the State Transportation Improvement Program, the city was successful in receiving federal funding for a replacement bus. In addition to that, the city of Pine River that we've taken over also was scheduled for a replacement bus this year. So we have 2 buses available to us, and staff is requesting authorization from the council, or rather the adoption of a resolution on the part of the council authorizing staff to move forward with the acquisition of those 2 vehicles.
For the price of $74,430?
Yeah, I believe that is correct, yes.
Okay.
And those are capital funds from state and federal. We pay 20% and 10% comes from
Yep.
Crow Wing County.
Yes.
And that's 80/20.
Yep.
And how do you do the 20? Do you divide it equally?
Yes,
Yeah.
the 20 is split, so
Okay.
half of the 20 is city of Brainerd, the other half is county. And in this
Baxter.
particular case, well, it's going to
Area
be,
with the city.
Baxter is with the city?
Baxter's, Baxter gets charged a portion of it also, so it's all prorated.
But it's with the, we count that as part of the city's
Yes, yes.
contribution.
So it's 7% of this, or 7% of this is Brainerd, 7% is Baxter, 7% is Crow
No.
County?
No, there's, I
No.
think we have about
It's
9
10%.
buses, so it's
Yeah,
a little odd.
10%
Yep,
is
it's
the
roughly
county's.
10% per bus.
Now, the other thing that you should know, and perhaps we'll want to report, is that the city has that money in our capital account. We already have the money. So it isn't as if the city will have to find the money. We have it in a fund.
Why didn't we do that with the HAVAC system?
I wish we could.
Okay,
I wish we
that's great news.
But you have to know that the transit committee doesn't spend the money, do we, Dale? We hang on to it.
God, I'm impressed. Let's move on. Everybody in favor
We're
with
in a
that?
mood tonight.
yes.
Aye.
Okay. Item number 4, agency agreement, number 05771.
Okay, the, attached to the packet is agency agreement 05771 between the Minnesota Department of Transportation and the city of Brainerd. What that provides for is an agreement that allows us to essentially begin our construction engineering on the Safe Routes to School project and authorizes reimbursement of our construction engineering costs up to $18,000. So this is very similar in nature to the agency agreement that we signed with MnDOT to perform our surveying and initial design work for the Safe Routes to School project, which also was $18,000.
It's up to 18,000. Anything over 18 you eat?
Yes.
Okay, and you're planning on eating anything, huh?
We're going to try not to eat anything if we can avoid it.
And you're comfortable with everything
Yes.
here? Okay. Everybody else comfortable with that?
Sure.
And that would be an adoption of a resolution.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item number 5, improvement 13-19 Garfield Street reconstruction, adoption of the resolution. Is this the memo that you passed out
Yes,
today?
this is the memo that has been passed out. We received bids this morning at 11 o'clock for the reconstruction of the streets around Garfield School. That was 10th Avenue from J to L Street, 11th Avenue from J to L, J Street from 10th to 11th, and L Street from 10th to 11th. The engineer's estimate on the project was a little over $705,000. We received bids from 5 bidders. However, the bid from Tri-City Paving had some discrepancies and was a non-conforming bid. When we opened that bid, the bid bond that was submitted was not for this project. It identified the 3 projects that we bid a month ago. So the bid bond submitted was not for this project, and in addition to that, they did not acknowledge the second addendum, which also included a different form of proposal. So there's 2 strikes against their submittal. Based on that, when we did the bid opening, we did not read the bid from Tri-City Paving, citing that discrepancy. And staff's recommendation would be, along with the approval of, or accepting the bid from CNL Excavating, staff would like to include in that action that Tri-City's bid is being rejected based on those discrepancies in the bid process. Yeah, and other than that, so with Tri-City's bid being rejected, we did have 4 bids. The low bid was CNL Excavating from St. Joseph in the amount of $784,521.65. We did an analysis of that since it was so much over engineer's estimate. We tried to figure out where that additional funds were coming from. Now, we've been hearing that the costs of pipe have gone up substantially. And in reviewing the bids to estimate, the actual cost of street work was below estimate, but the areas where the bid came in substantially above estimate was for sanitary sewer and storm sewer pipe. Now, we think some of that is because of increases in the wholesale cost of pipe. Cost of pipe has gone up dramatically. Likewise, the sanitary sewer replacement is in alleys. It's not real deep, but it's in alleys where it's going to be a little bit tighter. So a contractor may have some concerns about productivity when working in alleys. But then I think another major factor is that all of our local contractors have all of their underground crews and equipment out in North Dakota working. So with that, I think they can make such good money out there that I think to bring a crew back, they're just wanting to charge a little bit more. So from staff's opinion that that the bids that came in were in line with what the market demands. And so with that, we are comfortable with the bid that was received, and don't think that we're going to be able to do any better than the bid that was received.
Boy, they're high, though.
You know, and I have to say, there was an excavator that called, you know, and this was a while ago, but he's out there, and he did say that the pipe in Brainerd, that I would bid it at, in Brainerd at 14 a foot, I'm getting $34 a foot out here. And I told Jeff that prior to this, and I said, you can expect, because, you know, they're all out there, and every contractor's out there, that you're not gonna get good bids anymore, because, you know, why would they wanna work for less? So the numbers are only gonna get worse for the next couple of years. This might be even good compared to what you're gonna see.
How are we gonna pay for it?
When did we put this out for bid?
Pardon?
When did we put this out for
We
bid?
started advertising about 4 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago.
So it's gone up that much?
Oh, no. No, the,
From his estimate?
well, from our estimate, the estimate that we put together did not reflect, the cost that some of this underground work came in at. So the cost for the pipe is substantially higher than, it's gone up a lot faster than what we thought it
In 4
did.
weeks, it went up $80,000.
No,
No, it's,
his estimate's based over many years
Yep.
of putting pipe numbers, so Jeff didn't take a current estimate. His estimate bases on the last 6, 7 years, the recession, low numbers, and that, and all of a sudden, we're out of a recession, and we're hurting.
so some of the last pipe work that we did was in North Brainerd. That was 4 years ago. Likewise downtown. The replacement of the sanitary sewer on this bid is over twice what we paid per foot for replacing the sewer downtown. So that's the market. That's what's happened to pipe prices and installation costs. So it makes us look pretty good for what we did downtown, but unfortunately, I think these prices are probably going to be this high for an extended period of time.
And then, to help you out, C&L Excavating is a pipe contractor. And that means that actually these numbers would be low on the pipe, because that's what they specialize in, they don't
right.
have to sub that out. So,
Dumb questions?
yeah, no, I love it.
Do we have to take the low bid
No,
legally?
no.
Well, you gotta have an awful good
Well-
reason
Well,
not to.
there's a difference of $3,000 between sending our money off to St. Joseph or employing Brainerd people for $3,000 difference.
The only thing is, you are gonna hurt yourself on the next bidding. You're gonna have an elimination of bidders, because they won't come to town to keep your local person on it.
To reject a low bid in favor of a higher bid, you better really have some documented evidence that the low bidder is not qualified or capable or somehow cannot perform the work
Okay,
that they've
all
done.
right.
Yeah,
Or
Just trying to keep the money in town where
Now,
we can.
how are we gonna pay for all of this extra?
See, well, the big ones are in the storm and the sanitary sewer, the two utilities, so
So
we
we'll
would
be-
have to tap additional
we'll be-
out of those funds.
Okay, we'll about use all they got.
Yeah, that's gonna pretty much tap the sanitary sewer fund.
And the other I saw was 12,000 over your prediction too. What is all included in other?
In other, that's things like some fence work, a little bit of retaining wall work.
Where'd you see that?
It's
Oh, some,
it's some other, yeah, that's in the
Where did I see it?
recap.
I don't know, I saw it somewhere. I did. Don't ask me that. Well, anyway, I just wondered
So-
what it was.
Yeah, that's other
Oh,
miscellaneous,
here it is.
yeah,
under this-
miscellaneous items on the project
Oh,
that weren't necessarily related to street or the utilities. So it was some fence relocations, some retaining wall, and, I think, probably a few other types of miscellaneous removals.
Now, when they come here, will they be meeting with the neighborhood first?
No, typically what we do, contractors never done that, but typically what we do is send out a letter to all of the residents that are on the streets. And after we do our pre-construction meeting, let the property owners know what the schedule is, when the contractor is gonna be starting. Our contact information, so if they've got any questions, they can get a hold of Jesse or I. Try to, address construction phasing and everything else, so we try to keep everybody informed of what's happening. So throughout the project, we will, do several updates in those mailings to keep people up to date on what's going on.
Back in my days, I did the door hangers as a contractor, just to let them know when I would be coming into their area and a contact name
good idea.
for after hours, because, if the wind came through and blew barricades down,
Yep.
or if there was an issue, they would have a superintendent or foreman.
Yep.
And that's not a bad idea for them, gives them a second level, instead of calling you at 11:30 at night.
It's a good idea.
And we have, we'll get that during the pre-construction meeting, the contract. We always want emergency after-hours contact information. We do share that with law enforcement, so if something late at night does happen, we got somebody that we can get a hold of.
Well, everybody, it's gonna be a tough one to swallow, but we gotta move forward with it, so it's only gonna get worse.
Yeah, you're right.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item number 6, select harvest at Trailside Park, informational only.
Okay, this was an item that Tony Saylor sent over. The park board reviewed this and approved it at their meeting on May 7th. This is more for information, just in case the council gets calls about what's going on out at Trailside Park. At least everybody will know what's going on and that it's been through the processes. So it's just there for information purposes.
And did he have a map of where they're gonna take their stuff out? I know they're talking language here, but I didn't see an actual map, and is that available?
I'm sure we can get one from Parks, yes. It would be, as the Paul
Yeah.
Bunyan Trail kind of cuts through the Trailside Park property, this select cut is gonna be a crane on the south side of the trail. So it's gonna be kind of further away from Wise Road and further away from Beaver Dam Road. So it's gonna be kind of tucked back in a corner that, quite honestly, I don't think is gonna be visible from the
No.
public roads.
Last year, I got a call, and I think I even alluded to Chip last year, with Tony Sealer, but I was going down, got a call, went out there, looked, big piles of wood and cutting in there,
Yep.
and, like you said, nobody knew. But the number that they were taking out of there bothered me. It was like the good stuff was taken out there and the trash was left, from
Yep.
driving there, they're just taking out this, so we're left with the garbage of a park, and eventually, that's gonna be a park.
That's why they call it so.
Yeah, so is that kind of the intent of this?
Well, I haven't been involved, but I know they've got forest, they're working with foresters from the DNR. It's my understanding that they've been, trying to select cut the, some of the timber that's, I would think less desirable, not more desirable, but, and trying to leave, those species that, species and trees that are, healthy and, that they would want to have in a park in the future.
Yeah, that and a variety. If
Yes.
you've got the Dutch elm disease, or you've got ash borer, or oak wood, if you have you wipe those trees out, and then you have a disease, then the rest go. You got to have a variety so that you can handle the disease in that park.
Is it actually the DNR then that selects the trees?
Yes, the DNR is working with them, so I think the DNR is out tagging trees or marking trees, for removal, in cooperation with the Parks Department. So I think it's a joint decision on which trees are going.
Then the other thing, I saw a lot of damaged trees last
Yeah.
year, because they just run over the small stuff to get to the
Yeah.
big stuff, and they just, the bark is torn and this, and then they would rip and tear and shred and throw, and I looked at what was there, and I see damage on that, and I'm going, seriously, you call this? For $6,000, it's not worth to me to see that kind of damage to a park unless you had a better plan. I wasn't impressed last year, so I'll just see where I'm at this year.
I've got a question.
Yep.
Does the charter indicate that the money from this would have to go into the park dedication fund? Do they have an option as to what they would do with the money?
I would certainly think so.
The reason I ask is, I believe they have a leaking roof or something out there. I believe Tony's been talking about that. And I agree that the park dedication fund is important. But right now, I would think a leaking roof would be a priority. And I would think that they would take this money. I don't know, have they got an estimate what that's going to cost to fix it?
No, there isn't yet, but it's going to require a whole new roof.
Well,
And I think,
let them start with this. They can't just put every bit of money where they would like to, where they'd like to put it. If you have a situation that strikes you in your own house, you've got to take care of that first, if it's a leaking roof or whatever. And I think they should take what money they get out of this, put it in a fund to repair and replace their roof.
You want that in form of a motion?
Well, yeah, I'll
Okay,
make it
somebody
as a
else
recommendation. The park board has a lot of autonomy, but we can certainly recommend it. And I'm going to move that we recommend to the park board that their share of the money from this selective harvest be put in a fund to
Repair the roof.
repair and or replace the roof.
The
Leaking-
6,000.
It'll be less
65.
because I think 13% goes to the DNR, doesn't it?
right, there's some, yes. The DNR collects a
So
fee.
we won't, they won't get,
Oh.
they'll only get maybe about
6,735
5,000.
minus the 13%. We're going to a leaking roof dedication fund.
Right, or leaking or repair,
Yeah.
right.
Okay.
If
And
I-
I'm gonna go
Seems
with
to make
that.
sense.
You know,
think it
that's a
is.
good,
See, I'm trying to put money aside, Gary.
you're 2 for 2
Well,
tonight.
I'm
That's-
working on it.
You're 2 for 2. Either we got to you or you're getting to us.
You're getting to me.
If I could offer a suggestion, Mr. Chair, you'll notice that of our 7 items, we had 4 of those on the consent calendar. The select harvest at Trailside Park, we did have on the consent calendar, just
Well,
for
can we
informational.
take it off then?
So, right, to,
Would you
to,
take
to
it
do that
off?
motion, I think you're gonna have to take that
You
off the
take it
consent.
off.
Good idea.
Thank you.
Sure.
Now, this next one, I know you guys are just gonna give me grief.
Item number
I
7,
took care of it all, it's all good.
event/street closure application history week. We're gonna limit Mary to 30 seconds.
Good, good. I don't want it, I just
They're
do not
just a
have
bunch
any
of
time.
hooligans. I
I
wouldn't
know.
give them a.
Yeah.
We're rubbing off. Do you want me to speak quickly on?
Yes.
Okay, on the first one, it will be the 16th of June, which is City Hall Day and the celebration of City Hall and the rededication. It'll begin, the ceremony will begin at 11 in the morning. However, we are asking to have the streets between 4th and 6th closed off, and that would be probably from 8:30 or 9 onwards, because the National Guard will be using those streets to come from each direction and converge in front of City Hall. And, let's see, what else do I need to tell them?
What direction is the speakers gonna be facing?
They will be, facing south.
Okay.
At the city,
Yep.
unless it's raining, then I don't know what we're gonna do. I know you are, I know
I,
you
I think what we'll do on traffic control, we'll try to set that up, first thing Monday morning, maybe post the street with no parking signs, and at least, for the time being, put up a couple of barricades, let traffic still flow through there before we, formally just shut it down.
Okay.
Then we'll have to coordinate that with the police department.
Okay, well, we're just fine with that, but we'll need it for that temporary time. And then on the second one with the teddy bear parade, that's the 18th, which is Wednesday. The parade is to begin at 10 o'clock. We will be staging at the office shop parking lot, and I've touched base with them, and they're okay with it. And then it will come from 8th Street to 6th Street, that direction, and then turn north on the sidewalk at 6th and go around to front where we will ask parents and such to meet children and pick them up. And so some of the downtowners had talked to me and specifically asked that there be no parking during the parade, even though it's some inconvenience to them. But they said it's not safe with children and with parking. Besides, it would really narrow up the space the parents and onlookers would have to be watching. So we're asking for that, those streets to be closed off between 8th and 6th, and then no parking on those streets.
On Laurel Street?
Yes.
Okay.
Again, from about 8:30 or 9 in the morning. The parade will probably be over by 11.
That one shouldn't be a problem. We sweep streets on Wednesday morning, so
Yes.
this is perfect. There was going to be no parking on the streets, so as we're sweeping the streets, we can put up additional no parking signs, and we'll be fine.
So far, if the weather cooperates, just for your information, things are shaping up. Our own Tom Fitzpatrick has agreed to be our master of ceremonies at the City Hall celebration, so
Oh, wow.
yeah, I thought that was great. And Walt Straka, who some of you know, last survivor of the Baton Death March in this area, I think one of 2 or 3 left. He will be the honored guest. He will be riding in the antique cars show are going to bring their cars, and he'll be riding in the first one. City Hall staff are going to be helping him to raise the flag that morning then, and we'll have a keyboard brought in, and we'll have the national anthem will be sung, and Walt will lead in the pledge to the flag. So I think it's shaping up to be quite a nice day, hopefully, and I met with department heads a couple weeks ago, and they're just being good and great.
Are you getting your thank yous for all the work that you've done, or am I the first to say thank you?
Well, you haven't seen it yet. Maybe
Okay.
when it's over, you'll give me a kick. But so far, it's coming, really, coming together quite well. It really is, and I think it should be not just nice, but fun. A whole week where people can come and enjoy this city, and we have history here. I think we have a lot to offer. I think instead of talking about what we don't have, we should talk about what we do have and build on that. And we got Gary, we got Chip. Let's build on that.
You got the mayor.
We got the. So I'm hoping you will see fit to approve these events. Please don't give me too much.
They're on the consent calendar, so off they go. So.
Whatever you think.
No, no, you've done wonderful, and I
Thank
want
you.
to thank you. And I
Thank you.
saw your presentation, or, that you
Okay.
had at Brainerd Public Utilities, and
Yeah.
you've done well going from
Thank you.
place to place. So,
Yeah, we
Mary, from
we're
bottom of my
over.
heart, thank you for
We're-
doing that.
Thank you. We're the whole committee is
We
just
got the
working
mayor
their
in the
tails
crowd
off.
tonight. Let's,
Yeah. Good, good.
great.
That's the mayor's breakfast at 9 o'clock. And for FYI.
Where is the breakfast
It's at the Sawmill Inn, and Elgaminder is donating the entire
What?
breakfast.
What?
Elgaminder is donating the entire
you, Al.
breakfast. So
Wherever you
people,
are.
I hope, after, we're gonna have a placard or something with all these donations on, and I hope people will go into those places. It's a very historic restaurant in this town, and I hope people will go in and say, thanks, Al. You know, when I approached him about it, I said, we're operating on a shoestring. We are not gonna ask the city for money, so we're just looking for where we could get a few bucks here and there. I said, Al, I know this is your business, and isn't fair for me to ask you. Because business people get hit all the time, but I said, could you give us some rate? Maybe the price of the food or something we'd pay for, some rate. And he said, tell me more about this. So I gave him a little info about the whole week, and when I got done, he said, that's a wonderful idea. I'm gonna donate the breakfast.
Well,
Great.
So people are liking the idea of doing
Yeah.
that.
Great.
Thank you.
You've done well for
Well,
the 30
so-
seconds that we gave you. And I do like you. And item number 8, and I'm bringing this up again, this is the street cleaning. I had some people that actually, they gave me this, from downtown, they came and see me, and they said, the city is sweeping too often and could save some money and use some of that money, maybe, and they were used for maybe, for winter. And they thought the question that was brought to them was, when you street sweep, you tow. But when you snow plow, you don't tow.
We do when there's over 4 inches of snow and when we have time to declare a snow emergency.
So they're saying that there's cars parked and construction equipment in the wintertime are trying to get around those cars parked and it leaves a problem, and he would like to see the same kind of philosophy. This is some of them that are talking to me, not all of them, but they would like the same philosophy that when you come in with the, like you do for street sweeping, you tow everybody out. That same philosophy would be in the snow removal, and I was just wondering how and Mark is here and we could talk about it, but I mean, this is the Downtown Association again, and I'm just bringing some thoughts.
Well, there's a variety of options. First off, on the street sweeping.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to save an awful lot, just simply because in the summer, we run the sweeper a couple of days a week. Typically, it does not take us very long to do downtown. We just do the streets and alleys, and I think people, the alleys are probably more of an issue than the street. But we sweep those. Typically, that becomes a full day of sweeping, so after we do downtown, we're doing other areas of the general commercial district, or we get out in the neighborhoods, so it's kind of on the way. We spend an hour or two doing that, then we go elsewhere in the city. So first off, I don't think we're going to save a significant amount of money. Now, we're still going to have the guy out there, sweeping for 8 hours, and so it just kind of makes sense to run them through downtown and provide that service while we're doing it. As long as we've got the streets posted anyway for no parking on Wednesdays, every Wednesday. One concern I would think we might have is, with the signage that we have, if we start trying to tell people it's going to be every other Wednesday, they're not going to, it's like recycle, they're not going to know which Wednesday that is. So there's going to be confusion, we're going to end up towing more people and having, I think, more complaints.
And then how about in the wintertime?
In the winter, again, the towing works so well downtown on Wednesdays for street sweeping because it happens every Wednesday. If we could program, snow events and plowing activities, the same way, there wouldn't be any problem. We could make sure all the cars are gone. The problem that we get is when we start getting snow in the afternoon or an evening. We get 3.5 inches of snow, so it's not enough to declare a snow emergency. We'll send our equipment down there to try to clean up a little bit, but we're not towing vehicles. If we want the contractor to come in, we could wait till the following day, declare a snow emergency, get the vehicles out of there, and then clean up. But it's really gets to be a delayed process where instead of having the streets cleaned the first day, it takes sometimes 2 days or longer. One option that I brought up when we had our meeting downstairs with some of the downtown people was that maybe for downtown during the winter months, maybe from November through February or something, maybe we tell people they have to park in the parking lots at night and have no parking on the streets just in case we do get the snow. Then a contractor can get down there, mobilize, get everything cleaned up, and not have any cars parked there. And I think most of the businesses would be a lot happier. I know one particular property owner would not be happier because a lot of his tenants park on the street. So, I think there is a solution where we could get it, improve the quality of the service. But there's, people, some groups or individuals are going to be affected by how we do that.
Is there enough public parking available downtown?
Yes.
For all of the tenants downtown?
I would think between,
spot?
between the Laurel Street lot, the 7th Street lot, there's available lease stalls.
Go ahead, Mark.
Right,
Yep.
the question is, there is, but will they be willing to park in it if they have
Right.
to walk a block?
Right.
That's the question. There's parking that's sufficient.
Well,
Will they be willing to walk?
okay, if there is enough parking available, that seems like that would make some sense.
But one vehicle parked in those, there, in the grader
Yeah.
or whatever, can't go in and take the snow off.
Right.
Just one vehicle screws it up.
Messes
or-
up the whole thing, yep.
And that's the complaint, is that one vehicle leaves overnight and the plows come in and they can't do a decent job. They leave the big, and then they gotta try coming back.
Yep.
So,
Real
Go
quick,
ahead.
back to the, street sweeping.
Yep.
This afternoon, I was downtown with Zach McKay, he's our downtown maintenance, landscape maintenance guy. We were standing over by, Liquor Pigs, in front of the, burned out, landscape island. And, one of his first questions is, when do they street sweep down here?
okay. Yep, good question.
Some places are really bad and others really aren't, so that's the
Yeah,
dilemma.
that's true
that-
too.
Depends on where you are in
Right.
town.
It's too bad they don't, the owners or renters don't go sweep up in front of their own, because they could do that with,
You want a downtown meeting then before fall for snow removal?
Oh, absolutely. I think there's some,
Yeah.
changes that we can do to our contracts. You know, one of the big complaints we've had also is on sidewalk snow removal. And I've thought about that a bit. I think we might be better off separating that contract, separate it from the street snow removal contract, and have a different contractor dealing with that, and somebody who can mobilize as soon as we start getting snow of any depth, and, just to try to keep the sidewalks clean, throughout the entire snow event.
And we're talking like the holidays, Christmas, that
Yep.
becomes a big concern for downtown, to have it clean, and this is well, and that's what they're saying, you want it nice and swept for the 4th of July, but then at Christmas time, we would like the snow gone. So, okay, why don't we just say that we'll set up something then with before fall with the downtown people?
Absolutely.
sounds good.
Yeah, I'd like to be in it.
Yeah,
The committee, maybe the whole committee.
Yeah.
Okay.
we have Mark, you wanna be part of that?
And then maybe bring that idea up, Jeff.
Sure. Be happy to.
Thanks, Mark. We had to get you involved on the very last issue.